Hello and welcome back to our program. And today for our first guest we have Claire Besley, who's an emotional health expert and talking to us about emotional health today. And so Claire, why do you think that there's an epidemic of anxiety and depression in Australia?
I think that's a great question. Obviously it's rampant, we all know about it, we've all either had it or we know someone else who's had it. The reason that I think the epidemic is as big as it is and why it's continuously growing and not reducing is because we're living in a society where we're actually taught that to be angry or to be sad or to be disappointed is unhealthy. And so what we do is when these emotions come up, instead of actually allowing them to process, we push them back down, we judge ourselves for having them, and we try not to feel them. And whenever we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, they actually build up inside of us and they can get to a point of being uncontrollable. So we can have a panic attack, as an example. So I think that the reason that this epidemic is growing and not reducing is because we are approaching it from a medical perspective of what can we do to reduce it by giving you a tablet, rather than going, how can we help you to efficiently process emotion so that it doesn't build up to the point where you're needing to go to hospital.
And so then what would be the difference between emotional health and mental health?
Yeah, there's a very big difference between mental health and emotional health. And I think in society today, we really are talking and focusing on mental health. Personally, I think if we shifted our focus from mental health to emotional health, we'd actually see a dramatic change in results. They would increase rapidly. Mental health is focused on our thoughts, our processes that we're having cognitively in our minds. Emotional health, when we focus on that, we're actually looking at what is the emotions that are building up in our physical bodies. How much emotion is repressed in our physical body. So when we focus on the body and the emotions in there and we actually learn to release them in a healthy way, the mind clears on its own. So the current approach to let's solve everything from the focus of the mind is treating us as if that's all we are, whereas if we approach healing and becoming well from a focus on emotional health, then the mind actually resolves itself and we kind of kill two birds with one stone. So there's a huge difference, and that focus must shift to one of emotional health if we want to have much better results and a healthier nation.
So what do you think we can do to help resolve that situation?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Look, it's actually incredibly simple. A lot of the work that I do is actually helping people on a daily basis to release the blocked emotions and beliefs that live in the body that cause illness. So the best thing that we can start to do, number one, as a society, is stop having a negative view of people that are having negative emotions. So when you know someone who's angry or someone who's sad, instead of telling them how you'll get over it, sit with them and say, I know you're feeling angry. How about I sit with you in that and allow you to feel that right through, rather than trying to get you to talk you out of it or tell someone why they shouldn't be angry. We teach them to actually embrace it. It's healthy, it's good, and let's feel it together. And once we have a society where we're constantly embracing every kind of emotion, shame, guilt, sadness, apathy, indifference, once we all learn to embrace each other's emotions, we'll start to process them in a much more healthy way, because there won't be the judgment stopping us from experiencing them, and we'll stop suppressing them because we'll realise that they're valuable.
And Claire, could you give us some examples about that, how this emotional health and the differences there is playing out?
Yeah.
For people?
Look, I think, we've got this fantastic Are You OK movement, which I love. But my challenge with it is, if we learn to ask everyone, are you OK, what do we do when they say, no, I'm not? Typically then, we might get them to discuss it a little bit more, and they might say, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I don't really want to be here anymore. That's a pretty difficult thing for someone on the other side of that are you okay question to be able to cope with. And typically our response is, no, you're going to be okay, your life's amazing, I'll help you through it, everything's going to be all right. What I think needs to shift is we actually need to allow people to have these feelings and recognise that they're just emotions. So instead of immediately trying to talk somebody out of experiencing that emotion, maybe it's time for us to say, you know what, it's okay for you to feel like that. And how about I sit here with you and actually we go into those feelings, and how about I feel your grief with you? Because at the other side of feeling that grief is a release. And that person will then quite often shift out of that state and no longer have those thoughts, because the thoughts are just the response to the feelings. So I'd love to see the Are You OK movement extended a little bit to what do we do when they say that they're not okay, and how do we help them embrace what they're feeling, allow their body to process it and metabolize it, so their mind then recognizes, actually, no, I don't want to die. This is something I do on a daily basis. I've done this with hundreds of clients now. I don't run away from their pain. I go into it with them and enable them to process it. And I don't believe this is just only something for therapists to do. I believe everybody has a role in this society to help everybody as much and as often as we can. So I think extending the Are You OK to allowing emotion would be the best thing we could do together.
And in the Australian society, that'd be a great thing to incorporate to people to be aware of, that it's okay. It is okay. Yeah. And just relax a little bit about it.
That's right. And I think that the challenge is we can't deal with other people's emotions. It's scary to have someone you love or someone you know expressing these horrible, scary thoughts. But the reason that it's so difficult for us is because we're not comfortable with our own emotions. We suddenly feel scared ourselves when someone's saying that to us. And because we don't know how to process and accept our own, it makes it even harder for us to accept someone we love that's experiencing emotion. So the first thing we have to do is start to trust and allow ourselves without judgment to experience our emotions as they come up, and recognise that emotions are beautiful and we need all of them. You can't feel love and joy without having experienced grief and anger. We can't dismiss half of them and only want the others. Life is a balance. And so really understanding, okay, I'm angry today. This is not bad. This is good. Let me feel into it and allow it to move. And then you might even move to courage or joy, and then you'll realise that that anger was of great benefit to you. But while we're saying repress it, repress it, repress it, people end up going out and getting aggressive because it's built up inside. This is the movement that must take place if we want to rid ourselves of depression and anxiety. This must occur.
Well, that's wonderful, Claire. Great to have you on board today. And for more information on Claire and emotional health, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break. Welcome back. And next we have Sondre Kalik, who is a women's sales success coach and is here to talk to us about feminine empowerment. So welcome, Sondre.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Great, thank you. And so what is feminine empowerment?
Yes. Well, let's start with what feminine empowerment is not. So we have, a lot of misconstrued ideas outside in the market, outside in the real world, where women are taught to be a certain way, act a certain way, dress a certain way. We're not talking about how a woman is, in presentation to other women. We're talking about how she feels on the inside, what it is that her heart really yearns to be an expression of in the world, and how to go about being that in the most authentic way that she can. And for a lot of women, we are very disconnected from our hearts and from what it is that we really want to do in the world, because there's a lot, that we need to balance, we need to bring into account. And we, as women, tend to change roles, during the day, a lot more than what men do. We have a very different way of wanting to be in the world. And, for me personally, I'm a mum, I'm also a grandma, I also run 2 businesses, so I'm forever changing track. And, women find this difficult, a lot of the time, as to how they keep their energy up, how they really actually, in service to everyone else, are actually looking after themselves. And for me, that's where feminine empowerment really starts, is where a woman will take the time for her own self-care, her own self-nurture, understand her value in the world, and also, as a mum, my tendency is to be a nurturer, to care, but I've got to make sure that I have boundaries that don't allow me to overgive, at the expense of myself. So feminine empowerment is really about being able to stand in one's value, understand what is good for themselves whilst being in service to other people, and also to find a way in which, we get to grow, we get to expand as not just a woman in a woman's role, depending on what that is, a wife, a mother, a sister, what does our soul want in this experience of life? And how is it that we can bring, this aspect of natural desire to grow and have that really be of service to us as a woman. So for me, empowerment covers all aspects of being a woman, and where I help women the most is where we're looking at their business. Yeah.
So important to look at all areas of your
It
life,
is,
isn't
yeah.
it? And we forget about those other aspects.
Absolutely, because everything we do is integrated. You know, we can't, just because we're changing hats, we don't actually change who we are. So I think it's really important to be able to, you know, feminine empowerment supports energetically and underpins everything it is that we're doing in the world and everything we want to take out in the world, but also what we're learning. You know, because growth is a natural aspiration, and you know, we live now, women of our generation, now live in a time where opportunity or possibility is, oh wow, it is, we have so much choice. So how do we determine that choice, and how do we really make sure that we are able to create something that serves us, that inspires us, and you know, really, you know, that's part of the lifestyle. How do you really live a life that is filled with joy, filled with love, filled with wonder at the same time, as well as doing all the things we need to do? The practical, day-to-day, how do we be an empowered woman?
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Sondre.
That's all right, yeah.
And for more information on Sondre and women's empowerment, then please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And next we have Tracy, who's here to talk to us today about raw food. Welcome back. And we welcome back Tracy Jardim. Welcome, Tracy. And Tracy's with us today to continue talking about raw food and why not refined sugar. Why not refined sugar, Tracy?
Well, as we know, refined sugar is probably one of the biggest addictions in the world, especially in Western society. And refined sugar can be found in so many different products on the supermarket shelves, and they're mostly hidden. Things like sauces and marinades, they all contain sugars. And unless we're looking closely at the labels, we don't know that they're there. So things like white sugar, white flour, even brown sugar, corn syrups and starches, they're all very highly processed products that contain a lot of refined sugars. And we know that consuming a lot of refined sugars can lead to diseases like diabetes, which is highly prevalent in our society, unfortunately. But if we look at taking on a raw food diet, eating more raw foods, we are going to reduce the amount of refined sugars in our diet. So things like green leaves, spinach and kale and that sort of thing. Nuts are really good fats and oils in nuts. Things like fresh fruits and vegetables. Fruit has naturally occurring sugars, so we're much better off to eat fresh fruit than refined sugar things like snack bars and stuff like that.
Oh, right, that's really out there, isn't it? For people in the awareness to think of, you know, of juices and things like that, which may not be as pure.
Absolutely, Linda. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, juices are a good one, unless you're there like squeezing the orange yourself, which takes a lot of energy. But that could be a good thing because you're burning calories when you're squeezing that.
True that. That's true.
So yeah, we just need to be wary of the things that we're picking up off the supermarket shelf and checking the label. Yeah, because the refined sugars are there and they're hidden, and what we want to do is reduce the incidence of diabetes and increase better health for everybody.
Right. What would you, today could be your top tip for our viewers on something they can take away from today about refined sugars?
Always look at the label, especially on sauces and marinades, things like that. And marinated meats that you might, quickly choose from the supermarket, because there's a lot of that sort of convenient food that the supermarkets are putting out now, and they've got hidden sugar. So yeah, just always look at the label and look at the sugar content. And if you've got time, always make it yourself.
And for more information on raw food and refined sugar, please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Welcome back, and we have Dr. Zara Celik back with us today, our integrative health and wellness expert, and she's talking to us about detoxing your life. So, Dr. Zara, what is detoxing your life?
Absolutely. So usually when we talk about detoxing life, people usually associate detoxification with a juice cleanse or a fasting experience that may try in their own daily lives. But it is more than that. When I talk about detoxing life, I'm referring to being mindful at mind, body, spiritual, environmental level, and even more. Because what we think, our thought process, what we say, is also contributing to how we feel, and also plays a role also what energy we create and radiate out in our environment, within ourselves, and also in our workspace and with our loved ones. And of course, there's the detoxification of the physical body, which is, detoxing and giving a break to your organs. And, again, when it comes to detoxing at physical level, it is by individual. So I will encourage people to see what suits their needs, and to work on detoxing the physical body at that level. But having said that though, our body, our organs are always detoxing for us, but it is important that we support our detoxification organs. And some of the organs that are involved in detoxification is our liver, our gut health, our gut itself, the digestive tract, our skin, skin pores, if they're open with sweating, and through the sweating we are also detoxing. So body is very intelligent at what it does on its own, but it is a great idea, something that I suggest people to really clean the skin clean. The skin pores are clean, so then the body is detoxing efficiently through the skin pores as well. It is also a good idea to pay attention how your digestive health is performing, like we did in our last interview, as well as how the liver is doing, and also are we having the right foods to take the load off the liver. Because liver loaders could be such as alcohol or deep fatty fried foods. They can sort of add burden to the liver, which means the detoxification can become sluggish, because liver is involved in physical detoxification process. And there is of course the lymphatic system when it comes to detoxing at the physical level, and the lymphatic system can need a bit of that boost time to time. So getting a nice regular lymphatic drainage massage can also help and support the lymphatic system, as well as the physical detoxification system as well. And there's of course the environment that we work in, the environment that we live in, and we pay attention to, do we have enough greens in our environment to really help detox the air? Do we open our windows regularly to detox and clean the environment that we live in? Cosmetic products, personal care products come into play a role when it comes to detoxing our lives at environmental level. So the perfume that we put on, shampoos, deodorants, things like that, do they contain certain ingredients? They can disrupt our endocrine system. It can put a burden on the hormones and create that internal imbalance in the hormonal health. So those are those will be the things that I will recommend people to pay attention when it comes to detoxing environment, as well as our clinic products at home, in our kitchen, for our bathrooms. They could contain, toxins, even though we think that we're actually cleaning, it can actually then backfire on us as through the inhalation and through contact with the skin as well. But I always encourage, which is the big one, is to really pay attention to the mind, our thought process, not to hold resentment and to clear that, to balance the mind. And also not to judge, criticize, including ourselves, as well as not to be infatuate with others. So that the whole thing can create imbalance in the mind and also in the individual as well.
When you say infatuated with others, can you clarify, give us a little bit of clarity on that?
Absolutely. So it's like, you like someone so very much, you only see one side of them and you just admire that one side of them so much that you instantly want to become that individual. You want to live like that individual. And then that makes you not authentic, because you're not living your authentic self, you're not being your authentic self. And that can create imbalance in the mind and put us more in the immanent mind, and the transcendent mind can become imbalanced with the, in relation to our, immanent mind. So we want a good balance there, and to, really, as much as we can, to balance the mind, to operate from that transcendent mind, that creative mind, that authentic, objective mind.
So Zara, what would you say would be your top tip for our audience to take with them today?
Absolutely. So paying attention to mind, body, our thought process, our nutrition, our environment is very crucial. When it comes to, I just want to add in the nutrition, because I didn't say too much on that one. It is important that we take care of our liver and our gut. My favorite one is actually beetroot juice or beetroot salad, and also raw aloe vera. I consume that particularly personally myself. So the beetroot really helps to support the gut health, to move flush toxins out, as well as taking care of the liver. So the other thing will be pay attention to our clinic products at home, be very mindful of what our clinic products can actually create internally in our environment, and also what effect it can have on the external environment for the other livings in the ocean as well.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and detoxing your life, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll see Dr. Zara back next time on how to eliminate fatigue. Now we'll finish up for today, and we'll see you back next week with interesting guests and topics.